is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
And I want to get the language right.
The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
It's Thursday, June the 11th, 2015, and my name is S.M. Gibson, and I am the host of the Anti-Media Radio. We are here to provide an honest alternative to the corporate media's agenda. So far this year, there have been 508 citizens killed by the police officers. That's in 2015, since January the 1st, midnight, January the 1st, to 10 o'clock p.m. Central Time, June the 11th, 508 people have lost their life because of police officers. On the flip side of that, 54 police officers have died in the line of duty, but only 14 of those have died by gunfire. We've had 11 officers die from heart attacks. We've had 16 officers die from car accidents. Our great friends, allies, Saudi Arabia, doing wonderful, great things over there. God bless those people. 98 people beheaded so far this year. 98, and we still support that regime. And in Chicago, with their wonderful gun laws that we should pattern the entire nation after, the gun laws are working out so great. We've had 1,086 people so far shot since January the 1st, 2015. 185 homicides. As always, I'm joined in the studio with our wonderful producer, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, how are you doing tonight?
Absolutely wonderful.
Fantastic. And we are joined in the studio with a special guest. Hopefully he's going to be joining us more frequently. His name is Mr. Kelvin Jones. Kelvin, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How's everybody doing tonight?
So let's, before we get going, let's introduce a little bit of your background real quick, Kelvin, so they know me and Shannon are idiots. We have that established on the last show pretty well. But tell people a little bit about yourself and your history and your experience.
Well, my name's Kelvin Jones, and I joined the Army in 2004 I was there till 2012. And did 3 tours in Iraq, going to school now, try to better myself, but hey, that's all that's interesting with me, man. Nothing too much.
So people like to say if you weren't more, then you can't voice your opinion. You've been there 3 times. You were in the war zone 3 separate occasions, and were in the military for 8 years.
Well, I mean, I can voice my opinion.
Well, I can voice my opinion because they say they're fighting for our freedom.
You're an idiot. You need to hush.
So I will fight for or voice my opinion here. But anyways, I digress.
You're an American citizen. Always voice your opinion.
No, that's not what they want you to think. That's not what I'm told. I'm told I need to shut my mouth.
Well, who's telling you that?
People that fought for my freedom.
Oh, man. Well, they're entitled to their opinion, and I'm entitled to mine, so.
Well,
that's what makes this country great.
It is. So,
good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Good evening.
You're wondering where this voice is coming from, am I right?
Yeah.
You pulled me into the phone call when you started your show. This is Chuck Ocelli.
Hey, Chuck.
Chuck, how you doing, sir?
All right, how you doing?
Doing great.
I'm not sure how I got pulled into the phone call, but good evening to you.
Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you. How you doing this evening?
All right, you guys have any idea who I am?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Well, anyway, I just figured I would pipe in and say hi since I got pulled into the phone call. And isn't it fascinating how people want to direct what your opinions should be because of their particular status in life? Isn't that a fascinating topic?
It absolutely is.
Really
And for those of those who don't know, Chuck has his own show on UCY.tv, so everybody should check that out as well.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. Yep, called the Ocelli Effect. Airs earlier than you guys do, but strange. I'm not sure how you guys pulled me in here, but here I am.
The NSA is in effect.
They're everywhere, my friend.
They are there.
Weird.
Very much so.
Well, anyway, yeah, if you don't mind, I would say something about that whole shaping others' opinions and things, because I'll tell you, that's been a point of aggravation for me lately, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Well, generally speaking, I think it's rather fascinating that people turn around and decide to ascribe their belief system to what it is you are allowed to speak about. Oh, I don't know. I seem to remember that there was this whole concept of freedom of speech in this country. I thought that was one of those things, but then again, maybe that was just another one of those fairy tales I was told about as a child.
That's a myth, Chuck. That's a myth. Freedom of speech is a myth.
Yeah, it seems that way anymore, doesn't it? I mean, we are in the age of free speech zones and the restrictive nature by which media can be disseminated, et cetera, and control of the language is definitely in full effect, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know you heard the story about the two little girls, 7 and 8 years old, selling the lemonade. That's freedom, right? Cops come and shut it down?
Of course, that's the freedom to accept the orders of the authority. Isn't that about... Oh, wait a minute. This is America still, isn't it?
Well, you're free as long as you have a permit for it.
Oh, so they're free as long as they're allowed to be freed by someone who is in control of the situation. That sounds a little odd, doesn't it, guys?
Doesn't sound very free to me.
You can have all the freedoms you want as long as you pay your money and get your permit, and for that 3-hour period, you're free to do what you want, and then when your permit expires, you go back to being free, I guess.
And make sure you pay the money. Make sure you pay the money.
So let me understand this. What it is that if you rent your freedom briefly, you may have some if you've rented it, if you've actually paid your bill. But if not, then freedom is null and void until such time as you meet the fees required to rent it. Is that about right?
It's about right, but Blockbuster's out of business, and I'm tired of renting stuff. I'm here to buy.
Absolutely.
You and me both, brother. Okay, I just wanted to check my logic here because, every once in a while I wake up and I think to myself, I'm not in the la-la land that I'm seeming to find myself in. And, well, every now and then it's good to check with other people and make sure that we understand this concept of freedom, right? Freedom that is being retailed to us as per the directions of the government and all of that. That's the way that works, right? I mean, did I miss something?
No, go back to bed, America. You're completely right. It's rent your freedom. It's yeah.
And I guess by that logic, that means that I guess money equals freedom in this country?
No, you can get freedom on layaway, I think.
Oh, yeah.
They have it down at Kmart. I've seen.
Are the bankers that screwed us during the big bailout, are they free right now?
Oh, they're all free.
Well, of course they're free. But you got to remember, though, there's no evidence to suggest that, those banks were too big to fail, so we would have all been screwed. There's nothing like, hypothetically, this is completely hypothetical. Let's pick a country out of the air. Iceland. That's a small country. I'll just hypothetically Iceland, okay? Let's just say, for instance, they went through the same thing. And let's say they defaulted on that loan. And let's say the EU came to them and said, okay, well, you're going to need to, bail everybody out And Iceland voted on all that, and they said instead we're just going to jail everybody that was involved in this scandal.
Whoa! That's bad for.
That's horrible. Oh yeah. So Iceland's finished as a country, obviously, because they didn't listen. They didn't bail the banks out, and instead they jailed the bankers.
Wait a minute. That happened, didn't it?
No, we're hypotheticals here.
Hypotheticals.
We're hypotheticals. Okay. So we're.
I don't want to be confused.
I learned it in a Bjork song. Okay, I was listening to Sigur Rós, Bjork. That's what we're at.
Don't talk about my baby. Don't talk about my baby.
So. Let's just say hypothetically Iceland did that. Well, that's that. They told us if they did that, that's the economy's going to collapse. But what if that entire hypothetical situation is reality? And what if Iceland's economy is the strongest right now over in the EU? What if?
That's crazy talk, man. Where are you getting all this from? I thought this was hypothetical.
So, Mr. Gibson, let me see if I can understand this.
Yes.
Yes. I just want to make sure, because I could be perhaps far too brain damaged to absorb this concept. But what it is you're telling me is that if you don't accept the incremental shackles of slavery provided you by the international banking cartels, and if you remove them from your economy and thusly don't play the game, you may actually hypothetically completely
right,
have a nation that is not subsisting on the exact amounts of money and freedom that are granted you by acquiescing to the incremental debt slavery system. Is that right?
That's correct on a hypothetical standpoint.
Hypothetically.
Right.
Hypothetical.
And that's hypothetically say that the same country whose economy is booming right now, and they did jail the bankers, free education, free health care.
Ooh, whoa, wait.
Right.
This is hypothetically, right?
Well, of course.
That sounds like
that would never work.
That sounds like a beautiful dream.
That's some hypothetical communism for you there.
Wow.
Can somebody get Lindsey Graham on the line?
Yeah.
Can somebody get Shannon? Can you get Lindsey Graham on here to explain to us?
No, but I can get him on Grindr real quick. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oh, sorry, y'all. My bad. A wide stance. He has a very wide stance when he takes it.
The fear mongering, and that's how they sell this. If you don't buy into what we're selling you, everything's going to collapse. If you don't let us go to this country, they're going to kill you. What did 4 people have been killed by ISIS? 4 Americans have been killed by ISIS, not people. Forgive me. 4 Americans have been killed by ISIS? There's been 4 people killed by cops since yesterday in this country.
Yeah. I think the number has gone up by 4 since we aired last Tuesday, yeah.
It's 508 so far for this entire year. So
maybe we need to get ISIS for the police. It sounds like they're way cooler than what we've got right now, huh?
It sounds like they're killing less Americans.
They were definitely better trained than the.
Well, they did have. They definitely had training. Right, that's all a myth, dude. Everything's a myth. You're a conspiracy theorist, and you're crazy.
I know.
What do you think, Chuck?
I'm an idiot.
Well, since we're already paying for these ISIS guys to be supported and armed and otherwise propagated in the media, why not put them to some good use? That actually sounds like a pretty good concept to me. I mean,
hey,
that would be.
I thought of it first. I call it. I called it first.
Yeah,
thought of it first.
You can take the blame on that
Yeah.
when they're like, anti-media radio is all about ISIS policing America.
There it is.
Yeah. That's gonna happen tomorrow.
It'll be on Hannity, I'm sure. A very unflattering picture of you will be used in the graphic.
Be sneezing or something. Yeah.
Oh, good times.
So
might make out Rushbo's blog with that one, actually.
That'd be fantastic. So obviously, the whole hypothetical Iceland situation, that's real. That really happened. It's a story up on the antimedia.org right now. Iceland's economy is booming, and they did jail the bankers, and we did bail the banks out, and we just went along with the system. Everybody did fearmonger and threaten the country of Iceland, said this is never going to work. They said your economy is going to collapse, and it's literally the opposite. They did the right thing. They did the moral thing, and now they're prospering from it. and here we are, supposedly know everything, and we're still stuck in the crap.
Absolutely.
So, it's a lesson for the fear-mongers out there. And more importantly, we can't necessarily control the fear-mongering, but what we can control as people is, do we accept the fear-mongering?
I love what the special prosecutor in Iceland said. And really, this is we need to have this run along with our Pledge of Allegiance. Why should we have a part? And this is, I'm quoting him, Olafur, and forgive me, I'm not I'm very proficient. Hawkson. Why should we have a part of our society that is not being policed or without responsibility? And that holds doubly true for America when we talk about our, the corrupt politicians, these, murderous cops that we have roaming the streets right now, protecting the living hell out of us, protecting us from all the renegade lemonade stands in the nation. Where did we get this concept where, these rules only apply to y'all and not us? Well, I'm saying y'all because we're in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm a Southern boy.
The concept came from financial and economic means. And
wait a minute, you're going back to that whole money equals freedom thing. Is that really true?
Well, the more money you have, the more freedom you have.
Absolutely. Bingo.
Absolutely.
But wait,
Calvin gets a point.
Didn't they say all men are created equal, not just men in Beverly Hills?
Oh, man, the men in Beverly Hills write the rules, though.
Well, it's the men. It's right now. It's the men in London in the banking system because whether people know it or not, we have Wall Street here, but the core of the financial system for the world is in London, and that is the banking system. And hopefully, we're going to have an expert soon, next couple of weeks, about that, Mr. Max Kaiser. So stay tuned for that. We're still trying to work that out, but he knows all about that and can elaborate.
Yeah, it seems like I've heard a thing or two.
Kaiser's opinion is basically reopen the Tower of London, throw them all in there, and he's ready to go buy some guillotines and just start chopping their heads off.
Yeah, well, they do it in Saudi Arabia, and look how that's working for them.
Yeah,
well, they're our allies. So.
There you go. And you do want to differentiate between London proper and the city of London, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Just checking again.
Complete. Yes. I'm glad. See, as the guy last week completely said, we are idiots. So
he was a little sterner about it. We won't repeat it on air, but you're probably right.
But yes, I like to just run my mouth and just kind of overgloss the facts. So thanks for that, Chuck.
Because all these conspiracy theories have clouded your mind. That's what it is.
Well, I'm glad I'm exactly spoken to the same way that you guys are, so that makes me feel a little better.
You're in great company.
Yeah, you are.
At least I'm not the only idiot who doesn't know a damn thing about history or the world around me that just seems to want to speak for the sake of hearing my own voice, which is exactly what I was told, over the past couple of days, several times, actually. So, at least I have company.
Oh, yeah, you're definitely in. I don't know if it's good company, but you're definitely in company. The funny thing about that to me too is you've got the likes of Sean Hannity that has the nation's ear, whether it's good or bad. Somebody like that has a platform, and why do they have that platform? It does go back to money. There is a segment of the population that says somebody like Hannity, he's crazy, he's this or that. I would definitely fall into that population. But I'm kind of like, what do you think about this, Chuck? I'm not even convinced Hannity is insane at this point. Like, I think he's so money-driven, it's like he's in professional wrestling. What can he say that can be the most antagonistic to get people to watch him?
Well, whatever his controllers tell him is acceptable to say. I mean, he's obviously just a parrot for a particular agenda, which is to keep us completely distracted from the fact that there is no such thing as a red and a blue in this alleged paradigm. There is truly just a purple party, and they subdivide it based on issues that they think are acceptable to the American public and palatable. And therefore, he is part of the alleged one side or the other. Gee, I confuse which is which, really. At this point in time, and all he does is parrot what that agenda is being fed to him. So Meat puppet is a good term for him, I think. That's a pretty good phrase to coin for him.
Absolutely.
But he does it with a really fancy haircut.
Oh, man.
You got to give him credit on the haircut.
That hair can
Forget the
survive
fear
a
mongering and the
hurricane.
hate and all that and the lying and the cop in Texas at the pool party. Sure, he should have pulled his gun. There were kids that were harming anybody. Sure, he should have pulled his gun. Who wouldn't pull their gun?
I mean,
in that
those
situation?
kids were like pretty intimidating, man. I mean,
And listen, I love the guy's haircut, that's for sure. And just like Hannibal Lecter once said, love your suit. But, yeah.
Exactly. But, it's funny about, like, MSNBC, the ratings are not even declining. I think they've pretty much bottomed out at this point. And MSNBC, I will be the first person to tell you, is completely as ridiculous as Fox. And there is no difference to me as far as the just absolute hyperbole, ridiculous insanity that comes out of their mouth. The difference with Fox, though, is it really becomes the WWE, and they're just fear, 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 scream, scream, scream. MSNBC is just like, well, it's just like they're trying to put you to bed NPR style when they make up what they make up. And it goes to show you that people are attracted to the insanity because Fox gets good ratings. And that to me terrifies me, being on, I guess, quote unquote, the fringe of information, working with anti-media. We try to adapt and respond to, why aren't people listening to these people? They're crazy. They're just screaming. Does that mean I need to sit here and scream and just go, 9/11 was an inside job all night? Like, I don't know. Like, how do you get the information across? I have no idea.
Well, some people are interested in information and some people are interested in being carnival barkers. And even those that are part of the alleged fringe or alleged alternative or alleged anti-media, and not you guys specifically, but those that have also adopted that phrase and co-opted the seeming methods that go into this madness that we all call doing our own thing. Okay. It seems to be a popular way of dealing with things. You have carnival barkers, and then you have people that just sort of oppressively run over you, NPR style, much like MSNBC does. Although, you got to tell me, none of you is a fan of Miss Maddow at all?
I personally, I'm not a fan of her. I'm not a fan of really anybody on MSNBC or Fox. I kind of look at them all the same. I've watched her program much like I've watched Hannity's program. To me, it's just the, different side of the same coin.
Yeah, the problem that I've always had, and particularly with Miss Maddow, is that, there is, throughout her whole show, I mean, it's pretty much just spent on refuting on what Fox says. I mean, we can do that all night long, too. That's
right.
That's extremely easy to do when you lie as much as they do. Not just deliver mistruths or half truths when they out and out lie as much as they do. And Fox News, and that's been very well documented throughout, quite a few segments of the media.
And I think if we're talking about media that's gained people's real ear in this country, like, I think, honestly, for good or for bad, and it is what it is, I think Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert have grabbed the ear of especially young people way more than CNN, Fox, or MSNBC has.
100%, yeah, I agree with that.
Oh, absolutely. But the only problem that I've had with that is that it also, when you kind of cast everything in a comedic light, there's a lot of levity and what's really truly going on that gets lost in that. And
right.
That's my only concern with them. That's my only beef with them. Because I actually, Stephen Colbert is one of my absolute favorites.
I think he's funny, but I don't necessarily think you should be going to him for all your information, nor should you go to us for all your information. Everybody should decipher their information for themselves. But, I feel like they're like, well, I trust him, so this is what he says is what I'm going to believe. And people need to start thinking for themselves and not rely on me, not rely on Stephen Colbert, not rely on Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity or whoever, is your cup of tea. Think for yourself and take that information, decipher it for yourself, let it filter through, and have the
reason Bill O'Reilly or Hannity or Megyn Kelly or whatever, you just get burnt out after a while. You get tired.
Well, it's
of all the screaming and hollering and hate and hate.
We've mentioned it a few times on the show, and it's funny because we didn't tonight, but typically, like, it's the pre-show ritual for me. I will turn on Fox because it just gets me pumped up. It's just like my head wants to explode. It's like, why are you saying these things? Do you not hear the words coming out of your mouth?
And we were joking, because we were kind of dealing with a few technical difficulties here. It's kind of funny that we're sitting here talking to you right now, Chuck, because we've kind of been fooling with trying to get all our headphones right, and something broke, and things like that. And SM kind of looks over and says, it's funny, we didn't even watch any Fox tonight. And I looked over at him. I said, yeah, I guess that's why I'm so calm tonight.
Well, and just in all fairness, I find it to be an endurance test to tune into Jones Corporation, too.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things where it ramps up your anxiety level. And I guess if you're somebody who seeks an adrenaline rush of some sort or another, these things might be interesting for you. And credit where credit's due when it comes to guys like Stewart and Colbert is that they at least had the foresight to condense what it was they were presenting into very short segments so that it would be more consumable by the younger generations who have a collectively very short attention span and very little patience for data mining, for actually examining presentations as a whole, et cetera, et cetera. So they did that correctly, and I've got to give them that. However, I will counter the one point about adding too much levity to the news. In some cases, my friend, how can you not make a joke out of what is already a joke? In a lot of cases.
Absolutely. Yeah,
you're right about that. You're absolutely. Right. I mean, so much of it is a joke, but at the same time, I think a lot of it's the salesmanship, because there's so many of these messages that if you sat there and you gave, it's the reason we talked about earlier, MSNBC has no ratings, because they just sit there and like, well, this is what happened, and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's going to care. They're not going to pay attention and whatever. But you get somebody that's making jokes about the Patriot Act turning into the Freedom Act. It's like, oh, I'm laughing at this all of a sudden. Oh, I'm entertained. And they, you can relay information to them. John Oliver did that, I think, brilliantly with this Snowden when he went over to Moscow and interviewed Snowden and turned it all about into pictures of your private parts to explain to people what the NSA was actually doing. And he was talking to Snowden. He says Snowden would give him some technical term and whatever, and he's like, "You're boring me to death. I don't care. Give it to me in terms of, can the government see my job if I send a picture?" And that's how he framed the whole interview. And I think he got the information over to a dumbed-down population. Maybe not dumbed down, but to a population that's apathetic.
He broke it down Barney style, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but do you think that overall message, the more sophisticated end of that intellectual message, reached the masses that way? Or do you think it was just dog and pony time?
With Oliver and Snowden?
Mm-hmm.
I think the intellectual, though, I think you have to remember that going into that, they didn't need to hear Snowden interviewed again. The intellectual already understood what was going on. And I think for me, this is my opinion, that Oliver was trying to get that message across to a dumbed-down audience. For me, I can't say that I honestly watch a lot of John Oliver. I can't really tell you about much of his other reporting. I can tell you what I saw with the one Edward Snowden situation. And I kind of appreciated the fact that people are just like, I don't care. Whatever you're saying, let him spy on us. I'm not doing anything wrong. And he put it in terms that people that watch TMZ all day can understand.
Oh, yeah, certainly. If you had an awareness, you could definitely capture the message, but it's just a question to me of exactly who is aware that's consuming it as to whether it actually hit the target that it was intended for. I mean, when it comes to guys like myself, we're always looking for the hidden kind of message, the sort of obscured but yet still out front message that's relatable in these things. But not everybody does that. A lot of them have a very cursory view of it, and they don't really internalize the totality of what somebody is saying when they do stuff like that. And it is brilliant. It is brilliant, in my estimation, to bring it down to that very, very simple, common denominator, if you will, that makes it understandable to the general public. But at the same time, you wonder sometimes if there is anybody out there listening, really.
That's a great point, but that's an absolute great point. But, I don't think that message was ever intended for you or for me. I think it was just definitely intended for some guy that's not paying attention. But to your point, did it hit the audience it was intended for? I don't know. Did it just fall back to us and we just dissected it? The same people that hear that information over and over and over, and did it just completely miss the Kardashian crowd?
I guess that is the question to ponder for Nielsen to figure out, huh?
I guess. I'll say this, I haven't seen anybody in the streets protesting to bring Edward Snowden home, so, yeah, who knows?
Definitely didn't provoke that kind of response.
No, it definitely didn't, and, I guess the whole gender thing last week broke the internet. Dusty Rhodes today passing away. God bless his soul.
The American Dream.
Yeah, I grew up watching him on wrestling. I hadn't watched it in years, but these kind of things garner the attention of people online and the social context. And these important things, even when they aim for that, it doesn't really kind of take hold and have like a grasp that you would hope it would. So, Chuck, from your point of view, how do you reach that market? How do you reach that? Because I think you would agree with this. I don't think anybody's interested in preaching to the choir here. We want to relay truth to everyone equally. And how do you attack that?
Well, that is the $1 million question, or the great Rubik's Cube that all of us, I think, are trying to solve when we do these presentations, is how to get at not only the choir that we would like to preach to, but to expand the size of that choir. This is something that, quite honestly, is really elusive, given the atmosphere that we find ourselves in from a media standpoint. There's kind of an overload of garbage that makes just about anything worthwhile get lost. And how do you make, the nails stick up out of the great piece of wood so that people have to pay attention to them? That's the big question. And honestly, I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody does. But, I guess all that we can do is try to present factual information, put it in front of people, scream at the top of our lungs if we have to, but do not deter from the message, especially when there's people that don't want to hear that message, or they want to put their head in the sand over that message, or they want to call you crazy, they want to call you conspiracy theorist, or they want to call you quote-unquote un-American because you're saying something that is not exactly in line with the Pledge of Allegiance. But it's not us saying that, it's us repeating what's happening. And people don't want to admit to themselves what's actually going on and what's actually happening. So it's like shoot the messenger. And that's how they approach it. They're not interested in hearing, we have no business being overseas. Well, we have to defeat ISIS. Don't you think ISIS is bad? Don't you think ISIS is bad? They want to kill you.
Well, I think they want to kill us because we're over there. I mean,
right.
Point blank, period. I don't think they pose a big threat to the American population, realistically. I don't think them having AK-47s that, they may or may not have gotten from us, I don't think that's going to level an American city. But, the American people don't want to hear that. People like being scared, I think. Sensationalized stories, People want to hear that there's a boogeyman out there that's trying to get them. I don't think people really want to hear that, but I think certain powers that be want people to hear that.
Boogeyman, you mean like ISIS?
Oh, yeah. ISIS is a big boogeyman.
Yeah.
Well, of course it is. And to me, ISIS is the most blatant boogeyman we've had because at least with Bin Laden, it kind of became 1984-esque, where it's like, here's this face, be scared of this face, scream hate at this face. But with ISIS, it's just like a bunch of troops from Cobra in G.I. Joe, and they're all dressed like ninjas running around shooting guns.
Yeah, there's no Cobra commander there.
Right. Yeah. It's everybody's in a mask. It's just this fear. You can't even see what he looks like. He's that terrible, scary. He's coming to get you. And it's like, really? It's like, has anybody seen, like, ninjas walking down the street here? Because I haven't.
Well,
what are you scared of?
I mean, more people are scared of ISIS, you know. How many Americans have they killed, you said? Was it 4?
Yeah.
They've killed 4 Americans total.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of the police killed?
508 just this year.
To date.
This year. This year
From
alone.
January?
Yes, 508.
Oh, wow. But aren't all those cops heroes?
Oh, yes. Anybody in a uniform is a hero for any circumstance. I don't care if you shoot your mother in the face in front of you for doing nothing.
Your mother should have complied.
She should have complied.
Your mother should have.
He was wearing a uniform, and that uniform represents a flag, and that flag represents authority. And you know what? If you don't love America, and you just should get out of here.
Love her or leave her, huh?
Wow, oh my gosh. That's how people think. That's how people think.
So I can't be critical of my country and love it at the same time?
Nope, you can't. That's not how it works.
Oh, wow.
You're just supposed to obey. You know, the Shepherd Fairy picture with Andre the Giant to say obey? That wasn't a suggestion. Obey.
Obey.
Yeah, that's it. Obey. There's a reason the guy that told you to obey with Andre the Giant went ahead and did a hope poster for Obama. Same thing. Obey.
Obey.
That's 2 wrestling references tonight, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Well, you know what? We'll just keep doing we'll just turn it into the WWE Network.
You need to go ahead and pull up Hulk Hogan's theme song. We just need to play that.
I am a real American. I am a real American.
Absolutely.
Yes, I think we've kind of wandered off the point here.
Well, this is my question. Are you a hero if you need to wave a gun at a 14-year-old girl in a bikini?
Or better
If
yet,
you feel that threatened by like a teenager,
hero?
should you even be a cop?
Are you a hero when you ride up on children selling lemonade on the side of the road, trying to raise some money to take their dad to a water park?
Well,
Both of those happen in Texas, by the way.
Well, did those kids have permits? I mean,
no, they didn't.
Oh, throw them in jail then.
Oh,
no,
I'm
sure.
I agree.
I'm sure they were just radicalized Westerners that had been influenced by the Twitter accounts of ISIS. So ISIS goes really well in your lemonade, keeping it cool. So there you go.
I think you probably touched on something. ISIS may have something to do with that lemonade stand.
Well, see,
we're gonna have to research.
That sounds like conspiracy. That's what I will say.
Now that's a conspiracy.
What I will say is lemonade is a gateway liquid. And if we're going to win this drug war, we can't allow 7 and 8-year-olds to just be freewheeling lemonade to every person in the neighborhood. The next thing you know, they're going to be freebasing crack down the street.
Absolutely. Lemonade is very tart. You know what else is tart? Crystal meth.
Exactly. So we can't have 7 and 8-year-olds selling lemonade. We need the police to step in and stop these monster little girls. How dare they sell lemonade on the street?
Well, not only that, but the little girls had no permit from the health department whatsoever. The health department didn't come.
There was probably arsenic in it.
They probably didn't have rubber gloves on. Didn't have any way to wash their hands. No Purell was in sight.
And God bless those officers from just stopping mass murder.
Yeah.
They're heroes.
Mm.
I mean, is this what people think? Is this how people believe?
Well, no, but people go along with it because a lot of things, what I hear about cops now, a lot of people who excuse their actions say, well, they should have just done what they told them. They should have just,
should have complied.
They should have just complied, regardless of the fact that, like you were making a point earlier today, that, well, should we just do what they say because they're in uniform? Is it because they're a cop, they're an authority figure? Do you have to just go along? You said that we are their employers,
Absolutely. And it's time for us to, I've worked for a couple of asshole bosses over the years. I think it's time for us, the American public, to be asshole bosses when it comes to these killer police officers. Try that on for size, y'all.
There's a concept.
Well, you know what? You know who is employing that concept right now? The city of Cleveland. The city of Cleveland went ahead and sidestepped in the Tamir Rice shooting. Went ahead and sidestepped the prosecution's office that were getting their buddies off yet again, and now they're actually proceeding forth with a grand jury indictment right now on those 2 police officers. Man, I mean, that's what we need to be with this right now. Instead of everybody just sitting around and saying, "Oh well, yeah, we need to comply. We should have done we should have done what he was told." Tamir Rice should have put that toy gun down, even though the police, when they received the call, that the caller even told them was nonchalantly told them, "Yeah, probably a toy gun, but y'all might want to go check it out." So what do they do? They fly in there really quick, jump out of the car, and didn't get within 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Started shooting a 12-year-old boy playing with a gun in a public park, just like I did when I was 12.
I used to do that as a kid all the time.
Absolutely.
All the time. Just, yeah.
And thank God I wasn't shot for it.
Yeah, thank God. It's a different world now, though, man. Different world.
No, the sad thing is, no, it's still the same world. It's been transformed and turned into something different by this mindset, and it's this mindset that you will comply, you will obey. I'm very grateful that Dr. King didn't comply, that he didn't obey.
Oh, exactly. And people don't get that. People think, there's a lot of people who are just like on the cop. I'm not going to say that there are a lot of good cops out there.
Absolutely, and this is screwing it for the good cops.
It's screwing it for them, and it's making them look bad, because even like that situation with the pool party, there were 12 cops on scene. There was only 1 cop, acting like a jackass.
Former officer barrel roll. That was the moniker that we gave him last show. Yeah.
Yeah, just one guy out of that bunch, but it makes the rest of them look bad. And another thing is, too, if you know you have but does it make you a bad cop, you think? If you know there's a bad cop and you remain silent?
We talked about this last show, and absolutely it does. And this is the analogy that I gave. Let's say that me and you are riding down the road. I'm your passenger in your car.
Okay.
And I say, hey, let's pull over to the store real quick. All right? We pull over to the store. Then suddenly I run in the store.
Okay.
All right? I run in the store, and I run out, and I've got a bag full of money.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get that money from? You need to just drive, man. Come on, get out of here. Get out of here. When you take off and you're asking me, where'd you get that money from? Oh, man, I had to jack that store, dude. Man, I got to get paid. If you keep on driving and you keep quiet, what does that make you when the police eventually pull you over? That's exactly right. Yep. And that's where I'm at with it.
Understandable.
No, I understand. Just obey everybody. It's not hard. Just conform. Incredible. It's real simple. Conform and obey. That's all they want you to do. I don't understand why people can see these facts put in front of them all the time and see what's going on and, turn their heads and just think that it's conspiracy or think that it's crazy. I don't think people believe that this stuff's conspiracy anymore. I don't. I think the majority of everybody understands what's going on, and they're too afraid to speak up because they don't want to be seen as somebody that's, I'm that guy. That's it. I think it's people need to stand up for what they believe in, because they will be shocked when they find out that, wait, that person wasn't going to judge me. That person actually believes like I do. Like, they've got everybody under this tent of fear. And it's like they've got your thumb on you. It's like, oh, yeah, you know the truth. Guess what? You're going to do nothing about it because you're so scared of what other people think about you.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. We had a great story up on Anti-Media earlier, and we kind of were talking about it around the office here. And I think it's a great conversation. Bernie Sanders and free college, free education. There's a lot of different points on this. I'm going to go ahead and go to you, Kelvin, and tell me what you think about the whole free college situation.
The free college concept. I think, like when we were talking about earlier, just around the office with each other, I think it can be a really good thing, and it could turn into a bad thing too. I think everybody's entitled to an education. If you want it, get an education.
I think we all agree with that.
We all agree with that. It's a good thing. Nothing wrong with making people smarter. The thing is, does it devalue a degree further than what it is now? I have friends who are like college graduates and they're living with their parents,
I personally, that's my theory. I am all for people getting an education, but I think and I think getting a higher education. But I don't think we've seen anything in this country that dictates that higher education is winning the day here, because we're seeing college graduates, they're graduating every May, every semester we're getting tons of college graduates, and what's happening is Starbucks is getting a lot more employees.
Oh, yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, and there are kids, of course, that go off to their chosen profession, but for the most part, we're having these kids stay at home with their parents. We're having kids getting, jobs that have nothing to do with their degree and working in the service industry. And I'm worried, at least in the state of our country, even though education is a wonderful thing, a free education is an even more wonderful thing. For example, if you make the junior colleges free, what that's going to do, in my opinion, is it's going to completely devalue a high school education, which is basically already completely devalued now. And what is now a high school education is going to turn into, well, if you don't have your 2-year degree.
2-year degree. Have associates, basically.
Right, we're not going to hire you for anything if you don't go for those 2 extra years. And that's going to eventually turn into...
But if it's free, do you think people will take advantage of that, though?
I would. Of course, I want to go ahead and throw this perspective in really quick. And I've discussed this on the show. My day job, I'm actually a plumber.
Okay.
And I actually went to college for a short period of time. College wasn't necessarily for me. I actually went for mass communications and actually worked for a couple radio stations here in the Birmingham area. College was not for me. And there's a lot of, we could go into that story some other time. And I went into the family trade. Family trade is plumbing. Now, one thing that I've noticed right off the bat, because there has been such a great push for every single student that goes to high school to go to college, well, suddenly the trades are drying up, which doesn't really hurt my feelings much, because you know how much plumbers get paid these days?
Oh,
a lot more than folks that work at Starbucks. So, and not that I'm wealthy by any means, but as a single man, I do okay for
Doing
myself.
pretty good for yourself.
Yeah, I can feed myself. I clothe myself. I don't live with mom and dad. There is that to consider. There has been a major de-emphasis on, and almost, it's almost like a dirty word to actually have to go work in the trade, to work with your hands.
Well, my father's an electrician, and he owns his own business. I'll tell you something, that's really good money.
He's paid.
But kids don't think about that. And like you said, college isn't for everybody,
Absolutely.
But nobody ever actually pushes like trying to get an actual trade. Maybe that's
I mean, what the trade schools here in the area have dried up used to be, either you were preparing yourself for college, or you were preparing yourself for a trade. And there was a time in this country, and we talked about this a little bit. There was a time in this country where everybody knew how to do a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. And that's certainly not the case now.
Here's a part about this conversation that I think is very interesting. So you're telling me that you have a successful business career, that you're doing well for yourself, and your father has his own business successful career, neither one of which graduated from college. Now, I can only speak for myself, and I would love for both of y'all to chime in on this. I remember being told growing up, if you do not go to college and get a college degree, you will be a failure.
How'd that work out? I'm
doing all right. I didn't get one. Yeah. How are you doing?
I can feed myself. I don't live with my parents.
I'm doing okay. I took the other route. I went to the military, but you know what? I'm doing okay. It was an option.
Your dad, no college degree, doing okay.
No college degree. He's doing okay.
So what we're saying here is that the complete rhetoric of saying you have to have a college degree to have any sort of real life, to have any real future, that's just fear. And this is, this may sound like a bit of a conspiracy, and it is what it is.
Well, you're an idiot. We expect nothing.
Fair enough. Fair enough to that. And I'm not saying this is like legit, but I think it's interesting. What happens when you go to college? Money's exchanged. It's like the pharmaceutical industry. You're set. Well, what do? You need this medicine. I don't know about that. Well, you just need to take it. Give me your money. It's the same with college. You're going to be a failure if you don't go to this place. Hand me your money, or you're going to die in a gutter. Like, that's how it was kind of that's kind of how I heard it growing up. Like, if you don't go to college and get a degree, you're going to be in a gutter.
I grew up in the 90s, so yeah, that was the message.
Right.
Like, yeah, you heard it everywhere.
You did. Like
everywhere,
that,
yeah.
Like that's what your high school teachers told you. That's what the advisors told you. If you really have any, shot in life, you're going to need that degree.
I mean, it just depends what you want to do with your life. If you have the motivation to do something, it might not. College isn't the only avenue to success in the world.
No.
I've got a dear friend of mine who actually he was told his whole life that if you don't go to college, you'll be a ditch digger, and he owns his own excavation crew right now, and he probably brings in about 6 figures a year.
Exactly.
Something to think about.
Exactly. I mean, people always forget that Bill Gates he is a college dropout.
Well,
Absolutely.
This is what people say to that. This is the argument. You're not Bill Gates.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Bill Gates told him he wasn't. People told him that
Right.
back
Right.
in
He
his
wasn't.
time.
Right.
But no, everybody isn't going to be successful. No, the vast majority of people aren't going to be that successful.
No, I don't. Okay, there's people that don't go to college, and there's people that want to sit back and expect either, there are a part of the population that expect a check or expect parents to pay for things, for a check from the government, whatever it may be. They're getting a handout, whether it's from the government, from your parents, or there's people that just are homeless. There's people that just give up on life, and they're not trying to pursue something and really go after something and willing to put everything into it. And then there's other people that just, kind of go against the system and strive to make themselves better and pursue what they know they can achieve, and they know they don't have to have a sheet of paper to validate themselves as a human being. And I believe there's so many people in this country that need a sheet of paper and $100,000, put away that you're never going to see again to make yourself feel like you've accomplished something.
You know how many idiots I know that have graduated from college that have either a bachelor's or master's degree? They can't even tie their shoes.
And that's the thing. And here's the thing. I think for me, I think there's certain industries and certain trades that I think university system is very vital for. I mean, I certainly would never go to a doctor that didn't go to college. I mean, Yeah. I mean, I do think that there are certain things that you want people to have basic concepts of. Math and sciences are the two big ones. But outside of the math and sciences, like, to do most anything else, you really don't need what they're telling you need. Because they're telling you, let's say, for instance, you want to become a journalist. Well, to become a journalist, you're going to need 6 hours of math. Am I? Because I can do, math. Are you just trying to get an extra $180 out of me?
For this class.
Right.
Yeah. Well, colleges are, they're a business, They're not, they make money. You don't go there for free. It's,
So to Bernie Sanders' point, if it's a business, we make it free. Does that fix things?
Doesn't fix a lot, but I think I'm going to say this. I don't think a 4-year university should be free per se.
Does it cheapen it, or does it help people?
Well, let's say if everybody doesn't even finish high school. Let's throw that out there. So if it was free, I don't think everybody would even take advantage.
I think where we're from, most people, we're from, we see people that don't finish high school. I think the most Americans today, they see people that finish high school.
Most people do.
Right.
Most people do finish high school. And what does that guarantee you, really?
Nothing.
I mean, realistically, if a guy drops out of high school and you finish, you both can work at, like, a Walmart.
Right.
That's not, what do they call that? Unskilled labor,
Correct.
But I think that if everybody had a degree, nothing wrong with a smarter population. I think if we had a more well-read, more learned population, I think society as a whole would be better. But how would the job market be?
That can actually be accomplished if we actually put more into the high school, middle school, grade school, so on and so forth. The state that those schools are in is absolutely deplorable, and that's free. Or actually, I should say it used to be free. Because now, if you have a child, and we know people that have children that send their children to public school now, Man, you got to be armed with a boatload of money just to get them in these days. It's almost like going to a private school. You're having to pay for the books now. Remember, we all went to school. Did we have to pay for our books?
No, books came.
Yeah,
books were free.
Things have changed dramatically on that front as well.
But see, we're getting to we're steering into a little bit of conversation about the quality of the education. Because let's say let's just hypothetically say that Harvard is, if you go to Harvard, you really genuinely have the truth, the real education for all intents and purposes. Let's just say that's for that argument. And let's say you go to UAB down the road, and let's just say, well, it is like basically every other school, and they're just trying to get you through and pay your money, and, sign your sheets of paper. Here's your paper. Give us your money. You're out. Good job. Good luck at Starbucks. We'll teach you how to make some coffee on your way out.
You can be a middle manager at Starbucks.
Right.
If you really try hard.
So, what we're saying is that person from Harvard, they paid, was it a lot more money? Maybe, but do they have a real education as opposed to somebody that has a sheet of paper? I've never been to Harvard. I can't tell you that, that's the real education to get. I'm just saying the difference of value.
Well, trust me on this. You'd rather have, if you were in trouble with the law, you'd rather have a lawyer from Harvard than from like just a state school if you could afford it.
Of course. But at the same time, what we don't need more people with sheets of paper. We need people with more education. And that's where I think people are getting confused with. Well, let's just get more kids in college and get them more diplomas. We have a record number of people with diplomas right now, and that's why we have baristas down at Starbucks with master's degrees.
And one other thing that we also have, too, and there's been a big push for here recently, homeschooling.
Right, yes.
Wonder why that is.
Well, I think the public education system has pretty much, and I don't know when it really broke, but it's broke.
Very broken.
And, I don't know if anybody can pinpoint the moment that it happened, but I think we can see that, especially with the whole Common Core, it's just like, really? This is what you're doing now? Like, this is what you've chosen to focus on with all the problems going on? Now you're just screwing math up?
Yeah, and also basically just teaching children throughout the whole year how to take a standardized test. That's pretty much about what it's come down to.
And it's not about
if those standardized test scores are down, then there's going to be some teachers and principals that lose their jobs to be replaced with equally crappy teachers and principals.
Yeah. And that's why, for me personally, even though I get what Bernie Sanders is trying to do, by saying, free education. Well, is it going to fix anything?
The quality of the education would go down, I believe.
The quality would go down. You're going to have even more people with pointless diplomas, and then instead of becoming baristas, they're just going to become, hey, the person checked me out at Walmart today has a master's degree.
Well, I'll only get behind free because we all know what the word free really means.
That means somebody's paying for it.
No, we are going to pay for it. Taxpayer funded. I'll only get behind it 100% if we go ahead and pull out of every single foreign war and all of the other crap that we're involved in all over the world that we have no business being involved in. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Mr.
Amen.
Kelvin, who served over in Iraq and got to see it firsthand. I don't have to tell you nothing about that. Mm-hmm. You can finish the conversation here. I'll shut up now.
Oh, well, you know what? A lot of that money could go to a lot of good here in the States. How much is our defense budget? Like it's
last I checked, it was more than $200.
I know that our defense budget is like at least bigger than the top 20 people. Yeah, it's combined below.
Well, that's provided that Pentagon doesn't lose the money that we give them.
Oh, yeah.
8.5 trillion since 1996.
With a T.
Anyways, we'll be back next week. Levon will be on tomorrow. Join us 5 days a week at UCY TV, Anti-Media Radio. SM Gibson out. Thank y'all so much.
R.I.P. Dustin Rhodes.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.